my fellow Americans, tonight I am speaking to you because there is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
All right, last week, Donald Trump gave his first Oval Office address about the alleged crisis at the border. And this afternoon, he's set to make a quote-unquote major announcement again on the border and the government shutdown, now in day 29. Maya Wiley's back with me, joining the table now. Jason Johnson of TheRoot.com and Karine Jean-Pierre of MoveOn.org. Thank you guys all for being here. 800,000 federal workers have not been paid now for 29 days. The average worker has missed $5,000 worth of wages, Karine. This is an emergency for these workers. This is not just politics. I want to play Tyrone Sharper, who's a TSA employee in Philadelphia. Yes, they're not all in D.C. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this week. Listen.
I just feel like, as an officer, I took an oath. I took an oath to make sure I protect the skies and do my part in helping the country. And I did that with an agreement that I would get paid bi-weekly. To not get paid bi-weekly is the frustrating part when I'm still upholding my part. So in a sense, I feel like America, the government, has failed me and the rest of the officers that are being affected by this.
There's a piece in The Atlantic that talks about the fact that there's sort of a grim kind of, sort of gallows thought going on around in Capitol Hill that the only thing that might stop this is like a national disaster.
Which is scary to think about because, at 3 o'clock, Donald Trump is going to put together a reality TV show when in reality, all he has to do is pick up the phone, call Mitch McConnell and say, please end this. And he's not about getting to a resolution or solution. He just wants to double down in this really bigoted wall of his that he's been espousing for years now, and now that we're going into his third year of the presidency. And here's the thing, we are the wealthiest nation on earth, and we have people waiting for a paycheck, and something that Donald Trump created, but Mitch McConnell is allowing it to happen. And so it is, it is infuriating. You have people who can't pay their daycare. You have people who, who can't pay for medicine. You have people who are on long lines trying to get a meal. And we should be, it's shameful. And Donald Trump it just doesn't care at all.
And some of the, Jason, some of the story, I wish we even had more of it, of people just talking about, people with, choking up. I can't pay my rent.
Yes.
I can't pay my kids' tuition. I can't pay my mortgage. I'm going to lose my home. This is what we've been listening to all week. Donald Trump doesn't seem to care about that. We're accustomed to him not having emotion in that area. But Mitch McConnell, I think, at this point, Donald Trump doesn't have to call him. He's he is part of the equal branch of government.
Exactly.
He does not need a phone call from Trump to give him permission to do his job.
No, he doesn't. And there are enough senators who would be happy to vote on something that could override a veto. And here's the thing, and you've mentioned it, Karine, and you mentioned it, Joy. It's not just D.C., right? I had a guest on, I was on radio earlier this week, talking about being in the Foreign Service, being in the Philippines. You're not getting a check. You can't get unemployment when you're working for, national service abroad, when you're a diplomat. You can't go downtown and take a job as a bartender because you're a foreign person.
Right.
So this is hurting everybody. And what I don't think the president's going to care about until this hits a sort of crisis point, think of the Super Bowl. That's supposed to be a national security event.
Yes.
They're not going to have enough people. Think of Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport and how bad that's going to be, because I bet you there will be a walkout that week. That's what's going to happen.
Well, that is one of the chances, right? So you had already sick outs from TSA employees. And this isn't like a protest. It costs money to drive to work. Not every city has a subway extensive, $2 way to get, to get to work. You have to drive. That means you have to put gas in your car. You have to choose, do I spend my last $50 on gas to get to work? So you've already had sick outs. A graph here that it shows the unscheduled absence rate for January. So 2018 is the black line there. You see it. 2019 and the red line is 2018. Look at how high that absence rate is. The head of the FBI's union, because the Super Bowl, it's a national security event. So you also have FBI and others that are responsible. This is the head of the union to The Atlantic. I'm not going to try and candy coat it. We really feel that the financial insecurities we're facing right now equate to a national security issue. Air traffic controllers stressed out. That doesn't sound good if you have to fly. FBI agents stressed out. That doesn't sound good either.
So let's pause here because the Super Bowl is one thing. Investigations of drug cartels.
Yes.
Let's talk about the fact that this Donald Trump created crisis of a wall purportedly for the protection of the United States has led to the greatest vulnerability of the United States to the very drug cartels he suggests we need a wall for, because DEA agents cannot pay their informants, because FBI agents have to slow down their investigations in order to do background checks, because the analysts who would normally do a lot of the legwork on the background checks are furloughed. So there are so many levels of vulnerability that Donald Trump and Republicans were not pushing back hard on him, because remember, Republicans in Congress had a deal. They had a
Unanimous
deal.
consent.
Donald Trump is the one who said no.
Because they're making him their boss. He's not their boss. I think that they need to read the Constitution. He's not their boss. Let's take it to an even more personal level. Food inspections are being curtailed. You know, we've already had things like outbreaks of salmonella and other things. Food inspections are not, I mean, this is the food everyone eats. That's 326 million people, not even just 800,000.
Right, exactly. So it's affecting all of us, essentially, right, is where we're going. I want to step back again for a minute on how we got here, right? So Build the Wall was a line that Roger Stone gave Donald Trump, invented, because you had a incompetent presidential candidate who couldn't talk about immigration. So they said, here, build the wall. Also, it connected to his really racist, bigoted rhetoric and what he said about Mexicans after he announced. And so this is where it all stems from, right? And then we can't forget, too, it's not just about undocumented workers for him. It's about legal immigration as well. He just doesn't care about the other.
And that's the thing.
He doesn't care about us.
I have to have this question of, are people now in his base, you have to now choose between xenophobia and food.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's right.
That's a pretty stark choice.
You know, you can live off of racism for a long time.
Well,
lots of Americans can feed off of bigotry. They've been doing it for a long time. I think what's interesting about this, well, yes, obviously the wall is ridiculous, and on all the border, Republican and Democrats on the U.S. border who are members of Congress are like, we really don't like this idea. We don't think it's good. I think at some point the phone calls to Mitch, the phone calls to Republicans, when it becomes more of a national issue, because it's not just food security, it's Department of Justice. I spoke to a woman I did an interview about a week and a half ago. She's like, I'm in Child Protective Services. I got cases going on of abused kids around the country. When we get to Valentine's Day and you can't get flowers because customs can't inspect them.
Or federal prisons. You've got the guards guarding and making sure there's no prison breaks, also not getting paid. Okay, all right, well, we'll see what he announces. Maya Wiley, thank you very much. Jason and Karine will be back in our next hour, and I'll be